Okay, we will start. Okay, we'll first give some demo, okay, or describe some useful tools in network security. And some of the tools may be required for your assignment 2. Okay, assignment 2 will be released very soon. Okay, the first one is Wireshark. Okay, you can it's a free open source analyzer. Okay, you can download it. They have a user interface. Okay, so Wireshark capture the network traffics. Okay, so you can imagine that your laptop, okay, your laptop have what we call a network card or network interface. So whatever data sent from your laptop to this card will be captured by Wireshark. And okay, I think show the demo will be easier, and then we'll get back to this later. Okay. So instead of showing a live demo, I show it slide by slide. Okay, because we are using webcast, I'm unable to show the demo for my laptop. Okay, so first when you start the programs, okay, then first thing we have to do is choose the network interface. Okay, this is done on my laptop when I was at home. Okay, and the network interface you can is actually a network connection. Okay, and over here you can see there's a Wi-Fi, and then there's a Internet, the cable, and so on. In your laptop, you probably have many different interfaces. Okay? Choose the one with activities. Like in this case, the Wi-Fi has some activities, and you choose it. Okay? After you choose the network interface, you can set a capture filter if required, or in the beginning, probably you just leave it blank first. Okay, just network interface capture filter is over here. Capture filter, and this interface or this my laptop, the IP address is 192.168.50.83. You can see from here. Okay, and it have a MAC address which is not shown in this screenshot. Okay, I get it from other place. The MAC address of this card is this one. After that, you go to the next screen, okay, and you start to capture. So whatever data, frames, packets sent out from this laptop, okay, will be captured by this software Wireshark, and whatever data it receives will also be captured. So the first thing you will observe is that there is a lot of information display here. A lot of them display here. Okay, each of them there's a number. Okay, each one is the number 1 is the first frames that it captures. 2 is the second and third, and so on. And the time, source, destinations, and other informations. Okay? So one thing you like to do is to filter the display. Okay, we don't want to show all the frames. Okay, so then we use the display filter to select what to see. Okay, the display filter is over here. Okay, so you key in your filter. In this case, I type in ARP. That means that it only display ARP frames. Okay, and there are many options. Okay, you can look at here. Okay, to see other options. Okay, if you click these expressions, okay, there are a lot of other options you can look into. Okay. So for this one, I put ARP, so it lists down, okay, all the ARP related request and response. Okay. So let's look at more detail. Okay. These are the ARP, okay, that have been displayed. Okay. So if you choose highlight a particular frames, okay, highlight particular frames, the detail will be displayed here. The detail will be displayed here and here. And they will also give you some information over here. Okay. So in this particular frames, this coming from this MAC address going to this destination, and destination is broadcast. Broadcast means send to all the devices in the network, in the switch. Okay, broadcast. And the actual value of the packets of the frames, okay, is shown in these two parts. This part. Okay. This part is the actual bytes value, the actual byte values. For example, in this case, the first byte is FF, 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 and so on, followed by 641C, B8, 48, and so on. This is in hexadecimal representation. And this is some interpretation, okay, of this bytes. Okay, this byte, they are just a sequence of, it's a string, right? A sequence of bytes. Okay? And they are organized, okay, in some format. Okay? And for example, the first 6 is the destination address. Okay? And the next 6 is the source address. Okay? And in this case, it's a frame, so this is a MAC address. And then this, the organization of this, Wireshark help us by organizing it, so you can see it from here. So you can read from here easily, more easily. Okay, if you click this button. Okay, like the internet, this is a source, this is a destination. Right. So this is a more better. It represent the format, okay, of this string of bytes. And if you click here, you can see more detail. Okay, if you click here, okay, this triangle, expand the button, we can see more detail. It's expand the button, and now they also represented in the format, okay, the ARP format. Okay. So you can read from here to see what's happening. Okay. So in this case, this one, there are two. This is the request. Okay, remember what is a ARP protocol? Okay, you send out a request to ask what are the IP address, what are the MAC address of a particular IP address. Okay, so over here they give you some information. The request is this: who has this IP address? Okay, and you have the answer. Please tell me. This is my IP address. Okay. So you can look into the actual format. Okay, actual bytes. Okay, this is the actual bytes. Okay, of how this query is represented or formatted. Okay, this is a sender MAC address, sender IP address, target MAC address, target IP address. So this is the sender MAC address. No, sender IP address. Okay, and so on. Okay, you click here, then you can see the request. Yeah. So at this time, this particular node, he sent in the query, who has this IP address? Okay, who have this IP address? Okay, and have anyone respond? Yes, indeed, someone respond. It's a 4716. 4716 to say that, okay, this IP address, the corresponding MAC address is this. Right, okay. So remember last week lectures, okay, the ARP protocol, right? Someone asked, okay, anyone know the MAC address of this IP address? And someone who know it, will reply. Okay, so this is the reply. And when the address is OF, okay, this implies that this message is to be broadcast to everyone, okay, in the switch. So look at another examples, DNS. So we set the filter as DNS, so it's only show the DNS packets. Okay. So you can notice that here the source is a MAC address. Okay. For DNS, the source and destination is IP address. IP address. Okay. This is because the ARP is executed at a lower level, right? The link level, okay, and then in the link level, the name addresses are MAC address, and this is our IP packets, okay. Then their name is IP address, okay. So this DNS protocol, okay. So what happened during the capture is this. After I set up I activate Wireshark, then concurrently I open a prompt, and concurrently I issue a command ns lookout www.com.nus.edu.sg. Okay, that means at that time when I'm running a Wireshark in the background, I issue this command. This command ns lookout, okay, is the machine send out a DNS query to a DNS server asking questions. What is the IP address of these domain names? Okay, you ask a question, right? So the DNS request is sent from the laptop to a DNS server asking a question, sending out a query. What is the IP address of a particular domain names? Okay, in this case, the domain name is www.com.nus.edu.sg. Okay. And then after that, the DNS server will reply. Okay, and giving the answer. So now look at Wireshark. Okay. Wireshark capture all this, and then when I set the display filter to be DNS, he only show all the DNS requests. There are quite a number. For this particular one, is actually appear in 5595 and 5598. Okay, 5595, 5598. Okay. So you can read from here. 5595 say this is a standard query asking for the name of the domain, the IP address of these domain names, and 5598 is a reply, okay, giving the IP address. So the query is coming from here. Remember, this is my laptop IP address, and this is the DNS server. Okay, and then next, it's coming from the DNS server. Reply to my laptop. So look at the detail, okay? You highlight, when you choose this, highlight it, then it will be displayed here, all the details, okay? This is a query. This first one is a query. So from here, you can see what is the, okay, this although is IP packet, at the IP layer, later it passed to the link layer. Okay, information passing down from the higher level going to 2, right? So more information is added on. So it also have a MAC address. Okay, it has a MAC address. It's over here. Right. Okay, remember the packets, okay? These are the payload. Then this part is the IP header, right? And then this part, there's a frame header. Okay. Right. Remember last week I mentioned how the information is passed from a higher layer to a lower layer. Right. First you go to an IP layer put in some header informations, then it pass to a layer below put in some informations. Okay. So you can see from here, oh, this part is put in by the frames, and this part is put in by the IP. Okay. So in particular, we look at the query. Okay, this is when I click. This is a query. He asks this. Okay, these are the actual data. These are the actual data. From the actual data here, this is a hexadecimal format. This one is an ASCII format. In the ASCII format, you can see that this is a www.com.nus.edu.sg. Okay, right? Okay. So this packet actually asks for a query, asks a question, send to the DNS server and asks a question. The question contains this: what is the name? What is the IP address of www.com.edu.sg? Okay. So this domain name must appear somewhere in the query, and then here it is. Okay, it's in here. Okay, the corresponding hexadecimal value are all these. Okay, here are the corresponding hexadecimal value for this one. And okay, this follow the format of DNS request. And Wireshark is very nice. Okay, he helped us to interpret the format. Okay, which you can see from here. Okay. So in a DNS request, we actually can ask a few questions. In this case, he said that there's only one question. Okay, there's one question. And what is a question? Question is a query. The question asks for the domain name, the IP address of these domain names. And now the request come back, the answer come back. Answer is this one. This is a request. This one is an answer, right? The query will come back. The result will come back. So let's look at the result. Okay, the result. So likewise, you can see all the information here, and these are the actual bytes data in hexadecimal form representation and in ASCII. Okay. So these are just a string of bytes, and they follow some format. Okay. So Wireshark help us. Okay, he show us interpret the format and display here. Okay. So it said that there's a 1. Okay, this 1 is somewhere around here. I do not know where it is. If you are using it right now, if you put your cursor here, he will highlight to you which byte correspond to this value 1. Okay. So this is one question, and in fact he give you 2 answers. This question have 2 answers. Okay, let's look at it. Okay, there are 2 answers. I don't know why. One answer here, one answer here. Okay. So where is that? Sorry, I lost track. Here. Okay. Yeah. So over here, it says that the answer to your query for there are 2 answers here. Oh, he give one extra answer. It's very nice. Okay. So in this DNS response, he tell us what is the IP address of this domain name. IP address domain name. Okay. So if you highlight this, you will see the IP address in the data format, in the data actual byte representation. And somehow this DNS query give an extra answer. In some sense, he's saying, by the way, if you do not know the IP address of this domain name, the IP address is this one. Okay. So in Chinese, sometimes we say that if you ask for 50 cents, he give you $1, and this is the case. Okay. Somehow in our DNS query, we ask what is the IP address of this domain name. The DNS server reply back and give me two answers. He give me the answer for the one I asked for, and give me the answer of this one where I didn't ask for. But somehow he's very nice. He passed it to me. Okay, and he said, okay, by the way, if you don't know, the IP address of this domain name is this one. Okay. So you can look at other protocol also. Okay, while the thing is running. Okay, so the one I do here is that while it's running, concurrently I open out a browser, visit a web page. I believe is bbc.com, which is in HTTPS. Okay. So no, I think it's DBS. I don't remember already. Okay, I visit some website. Okay. And then with a HTTPS, okay, and he captured this. In the display filter, okay, I put in SSL, okay, SSL, so it only display all the TLS related packets, okay. So you can see there are many here. Okay. And notice that, okay, there are these three things. These are the things that we learned of. The authenticated key exchange. Okay, very first time, SSL want to attempt to make connections, you have to apply the authenticated key exchange, which is also called handshake, TLS handshake. Okay. The client say hello, the server say hello, and the server send its certificates. Right. Send a certificate so that the client know what is the public key. So what is a certificate? You look into here. Oh yeah, this is the actual byte values of the certificate. And you look down, these are the subsequent communications sent. Okay, Wireshark call it application data. If you try to look at it, these are all encrypted, and it shouldn't make any sense to you. Okay, these are all encrypted there. Fine? Yeah. Okay, this is another way to use the filter. Okay, this you put IP address equal this. These are all IP packets coming from this address. You look at this, the packet coming out in and out from this IP address, you found that there are many things going on. Although this is a HTTPS connection, TLS connection to this IP. This one is a DBS. Okay, I don't remember. Okay, and you look at it. Okay, just a simple visit using the browser will generate so many packets. Okay. Some of them are TCP housekeeping packets. Okay, for TLS is built on top of a TCP. Okay, so you have to run TCP protocol anyway. So TCP, you know that there's something called three-way handshakes, and then the acknowledgement and sync packet and so on. Okay, this is not covered in this module. It will be covered in the introduction to network. Computer network. Okay. I think it's 2106, right? Okay. And sometimes when you look at all this a lot, there will be some addresses that you wonder what are they. Okay, they are IP address. Okay, what are these IP address? Okay, so for example, like in this case, suppose we do not know this one. Found that in this, when you look at your log, you found that somehow your machine talked to this IP address. You did not do anything. You did not go to a website or anything, but somehow in the background, your laptop talk to this IP address very frequently. Okay, then you probably want to do some forensic, okay, to find out what is happening to your laptop. Okay, so you have to know what is this IP address. Okay, so the way to do it, one way to do it is to using NS lookup again, but instead of typing NS lookup the domain names, you type NS lookup the IP address. Okay, so this will carry out what we call reverse DNS lookup. Okay, the program will try to do in the reverse. That means that instead of given the domain name, give you the IP address, he take in IP address and try his best to find the domain names. But some IP address may not have domain names. Okay, he try his best to find. So in this case, you run it. The domain name is mbox.nus.edu.sg. So have you installed Mbox in your laptop? Mbox. Mbox is a cloud storage, private cloud storage provided by NUS. Okay, so I have this installed, and then when I boot out my machine, in the background it automatically trying to sync. Okay, sync all the files. That's why a lot of packets coming up from this Mbox. Okay, and you look at it. Okay, so you know, now you look at that, you know that Mbox actually use TLS to connect. Okay, it's secure using TLS and SSL. It's over here, TLS version 1.2. If you see something like TLS version 1.1, in a certain way, you should be happy or be alert. Okay, 1.1 is or 1.0 is vulnerable. Have some vulnerability. Okay, we shouldn't use TLS 1.0 and 1.1. Okay, so 1.2 is okay. So likewise, you have an authenticated key exchange here. Okay, for the TLS handshake. But you look at the information here. It says encrypted handshake. Encrypted handshakes. Okay, you go into go inside. It say over here, this session reuse previously negotiated key. Okay. So I just want to show you that TLS protocol have many different I would say complication. Okay, many different scenario. Okay, so what we learn is only one particular, the standard one authenticated key exchange. There are many different scenarios. Sometimes you can use key established before in the previous session to do this current handshake. Okay, so very complicated protocol. And sometimes you also can find the location of the device from IP address. So this you can use Google to find some website, lookup IP address lookup. Okay, then when you key in the IP address, in certain cases he will tell you where is the locations, what are the ISP provider? Is this Singtel, StarHub, or M1? Okay. So after saying that, so we have to be careful with our IP address also. So review your IP address. Okay, but in this case, I have a negative demonstration. I show you my IP address at home. Okay, so potentially you can find out in what area I stay. Okay, you're not able to pinpoint to an actual block, but probably some region. Okay, I try it, I cannot find. Okay, so. I forget to say something. Okay, so look at Wireshark. There are also many tools. Okay, some of them is called follow. You click a particular frames or IP address. You say follow. He will list down all the related packets, because there are so many packets. He only list down all the related packets or frames. Analyze, and there's also a very useful features called export. Okay. So go to look at it to find out more. Okay. and some of them could be useful in your assignment too. Okay, so having said that, okay, remember from last week, we talked about the layering of the network and how information flow from the top to below, right? So there are information here, the application parser information to the TCP layer, add something and go add something, okay, add something, and that is sent, okay. So now the question is that if you use Wireshark, at what point does it capture? Does it capture all the data here, or capture the data somewhere around here, right? When you send, it's sent through the physical layer. Okay. So it turned out that the Wireshark will capture somewhere around here, depend on a different OS, different machine. Okay, it's not the same for every machine and OS. Okay, and the network card. Okay, so he typically capture around here, so you were able to see the MAC address. Okay, and you may not see some information that is added here. Okay, for example, if you have a laptop now, you're using our Wi-Fi router. Okay, I mentioned it quite a few times that the traffics going from your laptop sent over the air to a router, they are encrypted. Okay, using WPA, because you use WPA to protect the Wi-Fi, right? So when you use the Wireshark right now, what you capture is actually the one before it's being encrypted. It is not the actual value encrypted ciphertext that is sent over the air. Okay, yeah. So this is due to a limitation of your hardware, the card, and so on. And sometimes the card, network card, don't allow you to see the actual value. Okay. So if you want to do something like, you see that there are a lot of packets sending from here and there over the air. Some are those are encrypted and some are not encrypted. Okay, and you want to capture that. So you may not be able to do it using your laptop. Okay, you may have to get a special network card that allow you to capture at this layer. Okay, at this layer. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's possible. Okay. Yeah. So Wireshark, in some sense, is a man in the middle, right? Okay, he captured everything, and it's a useful forensic tools. Okay, forensic tool. That means you want to find out what is happening. Okay, to the network connections. Okay, and I also forgot to mention that you also can, after you have captured, you can also save it as a file. This file is typically we call it a PCAP file. Okay, and later on you can load in the file to do your forensic or analyze. Okay, and the assignment 2 is in this form. Okay, you are given some PCAP file, then you're trying to do some analysis. Okay. I'm worried that the mic is not capturing. Hello. You can hear from the mic or my voice. Because I need this for the webcast. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Testing. I guess it's working. Hopefully. Okay. Another tool is called Nmap. Okay. Nmap do what we call port scanning. So last week I mentioned that behind every node, okay, we can view the node have an IP address and a port, right? So this node have an IP address. You have many ports. Okay. Behind every port there is a process running, waiting, listening to the port, ready to process data sent to that port. Okay. So if there is a process behind a particular port number ready to process that information, we say that a process is listening to a port, or that port is listening, okay, or is open. Okay. If it's closed, that means that no one is listening to that port. The implication is this: suppose I'm an attacker, I want to brainwash, okay, I want to compromise by brainwashing, sending some information, okay, to the node, okay. This node must at least process what I sent, right? Okay. If I send to a closed port, the data will be drops, okay. So there's no way to compromise the machine. So if I want to brainwash it, you have to send to a open port. So NMAT is this tools, okay, for us to check which ports are open remotely. Okay, so you can view this as a attacker tools. Suppose I'm an attacker, and I know that this is an IP address. I want to know which port is open. So I will run this so-called port scanning tools. After I realize, I know that I gather information, oh, this port is open, this port is open, and now I will decide what would be the next step. Okay. So this is called port scanning. And the port number, I also mentioned that the port number, certain port number has special meaning. Okay. So when two nodes, let's say Alice and Bob, want to connect, okay, Alice initiate the connection. Alice is the client. Alice want to initiate the connection to the port Bob. Alice will send a packet with the IP address and the port number to Bob. And in the frame and packet sent to the Bob, Alice will indicate her IP address and her port number. Okay. So then when Bob receives it, Bob can reply with the IP address and the port number sent to Alice. Fine? Yeah. So now, suppose this Bob is a web server. Bob is a web server. Alice want to connect, okay, to the web server. Alice know Bob IP address because Alice do a DNS lookup, find out what is a Bob IP address. But what is Bob's port address? Which port? Which port should Alice connected to? Okay. So this is a question, right? So Alice had to find out what is her Bob ports. Okay. So because of this, so popular services will have some predefined port number where everyone know. Okay. So for example, HTTP will be port 80, so it's fixed. So Alice found out from the Bob's domain names, find out what is the IP address, then she don't have to figure out what is the port number. Okay, port number for HTTP is 80, so put in 80 and send. Okay, yeah. So there are few services like email address, and printer services and so on. They have predetermined, okay, port number. Okay, yeah. So here is some example here. Okay, you can go to this table to look at what are the services, okay, for provided by the port. Okay, and this is from attacker point of view. This is also very good. Okay, because after he do the port scanning, he know that port 80 is open. Okay, you know port 80 is open. Then the attacker will guess, very likely this is a web server, right? And he say, this particular port number is open. Okay, likely that this is an email server. Okay, so this is also this provide useful information. Okay, and then how does it know but it may not be a web server, right? So now these tools will try to probe certain more. Okay, you try to send more probe packets to figure out what actually is the suppose a web server, what version of web server is it using? Is it Apache? Is it Apache? Then which version? Okay, so Nmap is this program, okay, written. It's open source to put in all this knowledge how to scan a port. Okay. And this is one example. Okay. So if you do this Nmap and these are the parameter, you can look up what this parameter means. Okay, go to Google it. Okay, and this is a particular IP address. Okay, there are some number here, but I masked it out. Okay, yeah. So if you do this, that means that from your laptop, okay, you are trying to remotely scan the port of this particular IP address. So you do the scanning, and then these are the result. Okay, the result is port 135, 139, 445. All these are open. And you figure out that this likely is a SSL port. This particular node is trying to do a HTTP connections, okay, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, yeah. And the parameter here, okay, this one say that I want to scan the port number starting from 1 to 65536, and O is try your best to determine what is the OS of that particular system. So in this case, what is the OS of this system? Okay, the word is a bit small. Couldn't see it. Windows Server. Right, over here. It's a Vista SP0 or SP1. Okay. So, okay, yeah. Okay, sometimes it may take quite some time, a few minutes or 10, 20 minutes. Okay, important question. Okay, is port scanning illegal? Okay, you can download the software, then you're very happy you try to do port scan. Okay, so you want to do it at home, do it on your own machine. Okay, some people think that certain parameter is okay. Certain parameter you put in here is quite aggressive and could be considered illegal. Okay. In NUS, when you come in and use our system, I think you sign your agreement. I believe there's a clause somewhere there to say that port scanning is not allowed. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay, let's take 2 minutes break. Do you have any questions? No. Okay. Okay, let us continue. Those seem to be capturing the voice. Okay, never mind, we'll just carry on. Hello. Okay, we have shown that we can use cryptography, encryptions, and MAC and PKI strong authentication to secure a channel. Okay, suppose the channel have a man in the middle. The man in the middle can sniff and spoof the packets, the communications. Then by the use of cryptography, we can secure it. So even the man in the middle can sniff and spoof, they will not able to get any information or compromise the integrity. So now, okay, now we also remember that I mentioned the layering, right? Okay, and I also mentioned that for each layer, you can view this as a virtual connection. Okay, there's a virtual connection at layer 2, there's a virtual connection at layer 3, there's a virtual connection at layer 4. Okay, if an application here want to send information, want to communicate one entity here at this layer, want to communicate with another entity, he will use the virtual connection at the layer below. Right? Okay, he doesn't have to know detail of the rest. Okay, so I've mentioned this. Okay, so now you may wonder, okay, if we have this mechanism of protection using crypto, okay, at which layer should I protect? Should my cryptography and everything done in this layer, or in this layer, or in this layer, or in this layer? Okay, so this become very important design decisions. Okay, I have some crypto. I'm very happy. I know how to do it. Okay, and now I want to protect my connections. Okay, but now should I protect? Should I have the protection mechanism put it here, 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 or here? Okay. It turned out that it's not an easy answer. Okay, there's no easy answer, and we have come out. The community have come up with a different mechanism. They all protect at different layer. The one that we know is a TLS. We mentioned it. There's a WPA that we use every day. Okay. And IPsec, okay, which are not very common, okay, now, okay, yeah. So what are they, okay? So the protection mechanism, okay, for example, when we say that the TLS, we will say that TLS is a mechanism on top of TCP. So TLS is here. TLS. Okay. So you can see the picture over here. Right, TLS. Okay. So when we say TLS sit in between these two layers, it means that now the way we see things, we see it this way. If there are data, you are using Luminous, okay, user using Luminous, key in their report, submit your mark or whatever you types. These are application data, right? The application data will pass to the HTTP to be sent. So this will be in some way transformed to the HTTP data. And then this is going to pass to the transport layer. but you're going through what? Going through my TLS, my protection. So the data at this point will going to the TLS, you pass to TLS, asking TLS to send for me, and TLS will do protections. He will do encryptions, compute the MAC. Okay, so this piece of data, after going through this, come out will be encrypted plus MAC. Okay, encrypted. Okay, and this is passed to the transport layer later passed to this network layer, link layer, and then sent. Fine. Okay. This is a very useful way to see how the data flow. Okay. Okay. Why useful? Okay. Data will be remain unencrypted in clear here, and then you'll be encrypted over here. Remain encrypted. Information added here, will they be encrypted by TLS? No. Okay. Information on top will be encrypted. Here, no. Now imagine, okay, that you are in a McDonald's, Starbucks, cafe, using the free Wi-Fi router. Free Wi-Fi router, and somehow there's a eavesdropper in the same cafe, okay, or even the cafe owner is malicious. Okay, so he will capture which information? He'll capture all the information here at the physical layer, right? All the data will send over here, sent to him. Then he will capture this. He capture all the information. He is the malicious cafe owner. You are using his Wi-Fi. Okay, you are using his Wi-Fi router, and then all the information, of course, pass through him. Now the question is this: Alice, using IVRE or Luminous, submitted her report. Okay, were this evil owner, cafe owner, able to get Alice report? The answer is no. Okay, how do we see that? Okay, Alice report is key in here, right? Then go through so many the application, and application passed to TLS, and TLS encrypted it, pass it to a below, and so on and so on and so on, and go to here. So this malicious owner can only see the encrypted report. Okay, yeah. Now the next questions: will this guy know that Alice is attempting to submitting something to IVLE? We know that Alice is submitting something to IVLE. The answer is yes. Why? This guy, look at here, all this information added afterwards are not encrypted. Okay, all the information added afterwards are not encrypted. Because it's not encrypted, so he look at this, he look at the TCP header, he know the IP header, and he know that this packet is coming from here, going to this particular IP address, which is IVLE or Luminous, right? And he also can count the number of packets going there. He'll know the size of the data, the size. Have a rough guess of the size of data sent from Alice to IVLE. He also know the MAC address of the of Alice machine, right? So all information will be here. And when Alice used the browser will send out DNS query. DNS query is sent using UDP, not protected using TLS, right? So DNS query is sent over here, So were the cafe owner able to capture know that Alice sent out a DNS query? Yes. Okay, because anything go below is not protected. Were the cafe owner able to modify it and spoof a DNS reply? Answer also yes. Right? So after you see this, then you found that, oh, having protection here is good, but still a lot of information is not protected. A lot of information is still not yet protected. Okay, so we need something else. So that's come in what? Come we to have WPA. Okay, this just mentioned this. Oh, okay, maybe also another scenario. Another scenario is that Alice is using a TLS, okay, and go to the application HTTP, and suppose there is a malware. Somehow there's a malware in the browser. Okay, the browser is compromised. Okay, when the browser is compromised, okay, then whatever information key in, the browser is able, okay, and not only compromised, the browser also trying to communicate to his friends, his command center, okay, at this over here. So now if we have a TLS protection here, okay, were we able to prevent the malware in the like keylogger in the browser to send out information? Is no, okay, because TLS only protected information passing through him, okay, and this guy directly communicate to his friend above the TLS. Right. Okay. So WPA2, okay, is another protocol used in protect home Wi-Fi and even enterprise Wi-Fi. Okay. In the home, usually we use the WPA2 personal. In the environment like NUS, we use the version called enterprise. Okay, so where does WPA work? Okay, he protect this layer. Okay, yeah. So for this protection, okay, now suppose that Bob is in the same cafe. Bob is in the same cafe, and then we use the. Okay, I will not use the same cafe. Using this lecture theater as examples. Okay, in this lecture theaters, we have many laptops connected to the Wi-Fi router. Okay. And these are protected using WPA2. Okay. Yeah. Now, if still Alice is sitting here, Alice submit her report to IVLE, Numinous. Bob is sitting over here. Bob is able to sniff everything over the air. Okay. So now the question is, does Bob able to get Alice's report? The answer is no. Okay. Likewise, no, because it's been encrypted. Okay. The next question is, does Bob know that Alice is trying to connecting to the IVLE or Numinous? And in this case, the answer is no. Why? The IP address, okay, is over here. When it passes through this layer, it's being encrypted. Okay, and Bob, okay, doesn't know the key, so it's unable to encrypt. Fine? Yeah. In this example, if Bob is the cafe owner, we are now all in the cafe. Okay. Then this protection cannot prevent a cafe, the malicious cafe owner, because he's a cafe owner. you are linking it to him, he's able to decrypt everything, right? Because he provides the router. He's the person who runs the WPA protocol. Okay. Yeah. So IPsec, okay? IPsec protect the IP layer, okay? So you look at this, you compare this to the TLS. TLS is over here. Okay, IPsec is over here. Then WPA is over here. Okay. So suppose you use WPA and TLS. Okay, then okay, suppose you use WPA and TLS. Okay. And now using in the environment where the cafe owner is malicious, okay, then as we mentioned just now, the cafe owner will able to see everything. The WPA is not effective anymore. The owner is able to see every information go up to here. Okay, so TLS, one thing bad about TLS is it do not protect information up to here. Okay, so IPsec, okay, it put in over here, is able to protect mainly, okay, beside all the information, the IP address, okay. So even if you use IPsec, okay, the evil cafe owner will not able to see the IP address. Actually, it's only integrity of the IP address, okay. It's not able to modify the IP address, okay, but he may able to see it, okay. Only the integrity of the IP address are protected. So IPsec is a mechanism who goes is to protect IP layer and so on and so on. This I copy from the public domain. Okay. Here are the two main important sentences. Okay, a few important sentences. Okay, securing internet protocol. Okay, so these two words or these three words, probably you can infer that is of these pictures. Okay, IPsec protect layer 3. Right. Okay, read this one. It's a protocol for securing IP. All right, securing IP. Okay, securing in what sense? For authentications and confidentiality. Okay, right. So mention this. It's an end-to-end security in the IP layer. End-to-end, I mentioned this a few times. I have two notes. Okay, end-to-end means that when the data leaves this end, it will be encrypted and protected. Okay, and all the way when you reach the other end, then you decrypt it and check the integrity. So every node, intermediate node will get nothing. Okay, so this end-to-end. Like WhatsApp is end-to-end. Okay, so when you use a WhatsApp, the sender and the receiver, okay, when you leave the sender will be encrypted using a key only known by the two ends, and when it will be decrypted at the receiver end. Will WhatsApp, the company WhatsApp, able to figure out compromise the confidentiality? The answer is no. Okay, WhatsApp as a company who holds all this, he is just man in the middle. Okay, and now you're using end-to-end encryptions. Then when he leaves the end, it's encrypted. Go to the man in the middle, look at it, he cannot do anything, and then go reach the end. Okay, yep. So this describes the difference between TLS, SSH. Okay, why is different for IPsec? They say they operate in the upper layer at application layer. So IPsec protect application traffic over IP layer. Okay, and application can be automated by IPsec. Okay, so it means that TLS is on top. TLS is on top. So if you have IPsec, I automatically protect anything on top. Okay, this is what he wants to say. Okay. Fine. Okay. So just now also forget to mention something. Okay, about this layering. When we use the word man in the middle, okay, sometimes it's very confusing. Okay, we say there are man in the middle. Man in the middle, that means that he can get all information, and then we say, oh, you have protection. Now the man in the middle get nothing. Okay, so will man in the middle get the information or not? Okay, so it's very confusing sometimes when we try to explain the certain protocol. So in this module, when I mention a man in the middle, sometimes I make it very clear, this is a man in the middle at what layer. Okay, so for example, if this is a man in the middle at the physical layer, okay, it's a man in the middle at the physical layer, means he can capture all the data here. Okay. If this session is protected by the WPA, okay, so even this entity who is a man in the middle in the physical layer, he's no longer a man in the middle in the application layer. Why? Because all communication is protected at this lower layer. So over here, he cannot see the data at the application layer, right? So in these modules, very often I will make it very clear when I say man in the middle is at what layer. Okay, if it at this layer means he can see all the informations. Okay, if there's a protection for this, then he will not become the man in the middle at the upper layer. Okay, so like TLS. Okay, so likewise, let's say that we have a physical link. He's a man in the middle here. Very often our man in the middle is at the physical layer. Okay, and sometimes it's at the link layer because it will be the evil cafe owner, right? So it's then they can see everything here, but one is protected, then he's no longer become man in the middle at the application layer. Fine. Okay, let's go to our next topic, firewall. Okay. So now we know how to protect communications. Okay, so far what I mentioned is communication where Alice trying to talk to Bob. Okay, we use cryptography to protect the communication. We're also talking about mentioned about the layering. Okay, right. But the computer network is is much more complicated. Okay, a lot of times we want to limit the flow of information. We want to limit the flow of information. This is what we call compartmentalization. Okay. Why we want to do that? Okay, if the crypto is so strong, it's very strong, then we no need to do that anymore. Okay, everyone is equal, right? But unfortunately, this is not the case. Okay, we have many different types of server. Some server is more important, more sensitive. Some are not. The more sensitive one, we have a more protection mechanism. That means that the usability could be is not so accessible. Okay, and for some, like for example, workstation used for doing your homework or the programming lab, okay, we don't want it to be we want it to be more accessible. Okay, so in certain way they are less secure. Okay, so some nodes are very sensitive. Okay, have a lot of protection mechanism. Some nodes are not. Okay, so now okay, just another example. Okay, is that machine have a lot of vulnerability. Okay, sometimes when there's a vulnerability make known, we have to patch. We have to patch them. And in the organization like NUS, there are so many machines to patch. So a system admin will have some priority. He will patch what? Patch the more sensitive, more important server first. Okay, the PC in the programming lab will have a lowest priority, right? We have so many machines. So because of this, it's good to have a way to do what we call compartmentizations. Okay, we divide our machine into zone and try to limit the flow of information from one zone to the other zone. Okay. So the tools to do that is what we call, you probably have heard of these words, called firewall. Firewall. Okay, a firewall control traffic. Okay, from one segment to the other segment. Okay. So this one way to visualize it. Okay. So in this organization, there's a web server, mirror server, and database server. And possibly there are, okay, I did not draw here, there are many other machines for like in the programming lab. In this case, database server is the very most sensitive one because it contains a lot of data. Okay, so the web server is public facing because anyone should be able to access the web server and email server. So now, okay, if we put everything together, okay, there's no segmentation. Okay, we put everything together. Okay, suppose in the case that I put my web server here, a mirror server, my database server, they all link together and go to the internet. Okay, there's no firewall. Okay, no firewall. Suppose there's no firewall. Okay. Okay. In the web server, okay, suppose that you want to access your exam result. Okay, you go to you log into a web server and get your exam result. Where is your exam result stored? Your exam result is stored in the database. Okay, so your exam result is stored here. Okay, these are very sensitive files, storing the mark of your exam. Right? This one is the web server. Okay. So your browser will visit the web server. Browse. Okay, let me draw it one more time, more clearer. So this is a web, and this is a database. These are sensitive files. Okay, this is internet. Okay. So if our user here will go to the web server, okay, using the IP address or whatever, and run the application, right? The web server will have an application running in the background, back end. And when you want to see your exam result, you send a request. Then the web server will send a request to the database server, retrieve the exam result, go over here, and then display on your browser. Fine? Okay, so this is a typical setup, right? Okay. So your exam result is actually not stored in the web server. It's stored in the database server. Okay, when you visit a web server, okay, and then this will issue the result query, go to the database server and go back, come back. Okay. And now, if everything, this database server, you look at it. Database server only receive requests from a few person. The database server receive requests from the web server, receive from some internal machine, and so on. Okay. People outside normally did not access the database server. Okay, there's no reason for anyone outside to directly access the database server bypassing the web server. Okay, anyone want to see the result in the public in the internet, they must go to a web server, okay, and then log in there and so on. Then you get the get your result. Okay, there is no cases, okay, use cases where someone in the internet need to directly access the database server. Okay. So there's a problem here. Okay, so if we put everything like this, okay, and let me illustrate another principle first. There's something what we call the principle of least privilege. Okay, principle of least privilege means that you don't need to know, don't give you access. Okay, right? Minimum privilege, okay, of least authority. That means that okay, it must be access only the information necessary for his operations. Okay. In this case, there's no need for anyone in the internet to access the database server. So, if we follow the principle of least privilege, then we must what? We must block. Okay, we must deny access of the public to access the database servers. Okay. So you may wonder why we want to do that. Okay, if everything is secure, okay, I have my encryption, everything done properly. Okay, even you have someone in the public have access to my database server, he cannot do any harm. Okay, you may say this, right? Okay, but as I mentioned before, there's a lot of complication. Okay, system have vulnerability. They may have a 0-day vulnerability we are not aware of. Okay, and since no one people outside are not required to use, it's better that I block the access. So even if they are 0-day vulnerability, they are not able to see my database server. Okay, so the way to do it is to divide it to two sectors. Okay, so I put my database server here, and then web server here. Right, so I divide it. Okay, yeah. Now after I divide it, I put a firewall here. I put my firewall here. Okay, the firewall will prevent, okay, whenever he see packets coming from the internet, he will immediately drop it. Okay, this firewall, I set a rule to say that all traffic that are going to here cannot coming from the internet. It can only coming from my own zone here. Okay, right. So now we set the firewall rules. Okay, drop all packets coming from the internet. Okay. After we have this, now suppose there's an attacker over here. Okay, attacker over here. Okay, he do a port scan. He do a port scanning. Okay, he do a port scanning. He will figure out that, oh, there's a web server here, and what are the port number. Okay, and when he do a port scanning, he has to send out probe. He has to send out a probe. Okay, he will send it out. So whatever probe that he send out, go over here, will be dropped. Right. Okay. Yeah. So if this guy doing a Nmap, trying to do a port scanning, he's doing the port scanning. The probe will go to here and get blocked. Get blocked here. Okay. So this guy will able to find out there's a webmail server, there's a web server, and what is the port, and so on. So this guy will able to find out all the thing in the DMZ in the port. But he will not even to aware that there is a database server. Fine. Okay, so that is the purpose of having the firewall. Okay, you don't even know the existence of the database server. Okay. So how a person outside access the database server? They have no choice. They must first access the web server, log into a web page, the web page issue a command in the web page, and then the web page will issue the request to the database server, come back here, go back here, and then render it in the web browser. Fine? Okay? Yeah. Okay, so something extra. Okay, now suppose you are attacker and you want to compromise the database server. What should you do? Okay, you found that you are outside. It's very difficult to get in. Very difficult to get in. So very technique that use very common, very low tech techniques is to what? Is to use phishing email. Okay, try to get the password of someone in the network. Let's say this guy, this operator. This operator can only access the DMZ, okay, and get the password of him, and then try to log in into this system. After you get the password, log into this system, compromise this system. After you compromise this system, then you can go through the firewall, get to the database server. Okay, this story repeated here again, and again. Okay, for example, the SingHealth case is one example of this. Okay. So what action can the firewall do? Okay, so they can allow the packet to pass, drop the packets, reject the packet, log information, notify or modify the packets. Okay, you can read from here. And the example of firewall rules, you can just read from here. It's quite intuitive, informative. Okay, you can read from here. This is one example of the firewall rules, and we have a tutorial on this. Okay, there are different type of firewalls. Okay, you can just read this, and you may have read this term before: intrusion detection system. Okay, these are sensors that gather data and then try to detect any abnormal behavior. You can do by, for example, signatures. Look at the signatures of the traffics and decide whether this is attacks, or check whether it's deviated from normal behavior and so on. Okay, so these are proper some names. Okay, we'll not go into details. This one is just reading. Okay, you can just read all this. And okay, this one is very interesting. Okay, I always like to point out this. Okay, this Security Operating Center, this is pronounced as SOC. Okay, it's not School of Computing. Okay, yeah. In huge organization, usually it's a huge enterprise. Okay, they have a 24 hours team that monitor the network. Okay, this team is called a SOC teams. Okay, and they have a special software to use. Some software they use is called the SIEM. Okay, Security Information and Event Management. Okay. In this SOC teams, there's something called level 1, level 2. Okay, so the software SIME will have some intelligence there, try to detect events, and then they will push the events, okay, to the center. Okay, so this you can imagine these are a lot of sensors. This is a whole network. There's a sensor, and this is a SOC. Okay, so this will try to push. Okay, they push. Okay. Push a lot of events. Okay, they detect something, push. Okay, so over here, these are 24 hours. There were some guys, operators sitting here, going through the events. Okay, if it's a human just sitting there and look at it, this is usually called level 1. Okay, level 1 operator, he found that something fishy, then he may escalate to his supervisor, who is at the level 2. Level 2. So one exam question is this. It's the first question. Okay, suppose everyone's supposed to get it right. Suppose you go for the interview. Okay, the interviewer asks you about SOC level 2. Okay, and what does it mean? Okay, these are multiple choice questions. And first is this guy is an alumni from SUS. He asking you about the layout of a SOC level 2 SR1, where is the toilet and things like that. Okay. Second choice is he asking about security operating center layer 2, okay, operations. Okay. 3 and 4, I make up something. Okay. System on chip and system on chip is also SOC and forgot the next ones. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Supposed to be a no-brainer. The answer is number 2. But very often I still have students who say that about 1. the interviewer is very excited. He's an alumni of the SOC. Then he want to ask you about the layout of SOC layer 2. Okay, level 2. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So done. Okay. The assignment 2 will be released soon, either today or tomorrow. So a lot of people put IDS and firewall together. Sometimes, yes. Ah. now, for example, over here,
Okay.
filter router, right? We're going using the password, right? You don't know it's on. Click on this filter. Now you clear up here. Okay. Successfully already. Now, apply and filter again. So even you enter so so if you want to send any packet, you send any packet, do ARP lookup, here lookup, very happy array is supposed to send to you, then it pass to the this WPA, WPA encrypt, then go there and then send to you, then you decrypt. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, okay, so let's say you never use WPA, but you use like TLS. That means the application layer above, right, everything encrypted.
Encrypted,
So the only thing that I can access if I do like update is to like see the
Indeed.
address and everything below the CCTV.
Not only, it depends whether the top layer is encrypted.
Okay,
Top layer is not encrypted, you see it.
I know what, if I have
Suppose TLS, suppose you use TLS.
oh okay.
So you use TLS, you see it.
But if he did use then
Then
application layer above
then
I cannot see.
so this is that's why I say it's a design decision.
Yeah.
And what layers should be.
But then if you put too many layers then it becomes complication.
Very complicated. It's not computation, it's a management.
Oh.
Management. So because the you want to have a layer protection there, you need to establish a key. Where is the key come from? For the WPA, you use the SOC key. Somehow you need a key. Then at the TLS, you use the PKI. Okay. Then you add one more layer, then you have to find a way to to find a key. So to find.
But then actually I was just wondering, you say that like you use WPA for AUX, but then I don't remember ever like some mechanism to share a key with AUX.
You key in your
my credentials like that.
the password for the NUS net.
But then
The first time you connect, you probably